Welcome back, guys. So I'm happy to announce you the next speaker, and my pleasure is that my actual teammate is Anton Voronko, who has also more than 10 years of experience in project management. He is a certified PMP, and also he is a certified Scrum Master and Product Owner. Our speaker is an Agile coach and machine learning enthusiast, and has some very big title in PMI in Ukrainian chapter. He is VP, Director of Administration and Secretary in PMI Ukraine chapter, skilled program manager and project consultant, has a great Agile understanding, and he is proficient in many areas of that, including Scrum. So please welcome Anton Voronko, Agile coach and process consultant at SoftServe. Hi, Anton.
Hi, Denis.
How are you doing?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining. Your topic sounds really interesting, the evolution of the Agile coach role, and I think that some of our viewers today don't even know what this role is about, but you are going to talk about the evolution of it, so it has some history. So I believe many of our visitors today would be really excited to know about that.
Yeah.
So this stage is yours. Please go ahead.
Thanks, Denis. Okay, great. Since I wanted to make it a bit fun and not so boring, to explain you regarding the changing role of Agile coach, I will try to illustrate that with three stories. We don't know if it's real people, but I think we will figure out it at the end of this presentation. And I want to start from the first story. It's called Head Coach, right? And let's talk regarding what happened with one guy. Actually, in the beginning, there was the holy waterfall. It promised that we will ask our users what they want. Then we will design such a system. Then we can just code that and test it, and all would be good. All would be well. But actually, there was one guy, and let's call him Kent. And he discovered that the users changed their mind, right? And due to long development cycles, we cannot quickly adapt to these changes, and therefore users and workers were unhappy. So he said, it looks like it doesn't work, so we need to do something with that. And he started to think regarding different approaches, practices, and so on, how to figure out this dilemma. And as a great chance, there was one big corporation that struggled for more than 1.5 years with the new application. They tried to develop the new application that should replace a few legacy ones with a comprehensive. And during this 1.5 years, they tried to finalize just any functioning part and failed, right? So Kent was invited to figure out this issue. What we had? Failing project. We had team of 10 developers, and we had set of experimental practices, right? So there nothing to lose, and therefore he said, okay, I will try to do that. He started to implement those practices. He started to work closely with the team, change the whole way of working, and in the end, it was success. It was not just local success, but actually these practices became known just across all the industry. It was the great success. A lot of teams started to do it the same way and receive the same benefits. It was a big fame for Kent itself, and there was a new opportunity. He was invited in startup. It was quite fast-growing startup. It was already 200 people working on that, right? And 20 times more than his previous team. And of course, he was experienced guy and already know what they should do, which practices they should use. And here was surprise. They actually didn't follow his practices. And Ken thought, I don't mind if someone don't do what I'm recommending. It's okay. I just want them to fail, right? But nevertheless, this startup succeed without his practices. It was really changing moment, and he decided, okay, I need to learn that and understand how they can succeed without my practices. And this learning lasted for 7 years. He just observed, analyzed, and tried to figure out what he need to do to receive the same success. He understood also one additional thing regarding concept of anti-fragility. And as the result, after 7 years of observing, he came up with a new model, the model that changed his worldview. And actually, this is three-step model that showed how organizations during their life change their ways of working, and there cannot be one size fits all. And that actually was just the horn sound for the new wave. And here we should switch to the next story regarding one coach in practice. This next person, let's call him Henrik, he actually was one of those who followed practices of Kent and succeed. He was widely known practitioner. He worked with many different products, helped them to incorporate agile ways of working, and it was a good standing coach. And actually, his products, those companies that he helped, they started to grow. And suddenly, he discovered when products rapidly grows, all the benefits of agile are gone. It was a bit upset things, and he just saw that different teams, when they working on the same product, because complex product, it requires for more than one team, they just doing the stuff in agile way, but receive actually result that we won't accept as good result. And he started to work on that. He tried different emerging frameworks regarding scaling products. He even took part in development of the new one, which became really known. And at the end of that, he just created a model that embraced all those patterns that help to develop complex products with a few teams. So, actually, he knew those things, and he started to propose these methods, these models. He again succeeded. He can help bigger organizations, bigger companies, corporations to grow their own products. But there something is missing, he understood. Actually, when teams developing their product, there quite big environment around them, corporate environment, enterprise environment, and since they cope with the issue of teams alignment, new issue arised. How can we work with environment which cannot embrace all those values and ways we are working within? And he actually started to think of it. He also come up with some models how we can check our ideas, how we should make our decisions, but this was just beginning. And actually this was drums for the next wave. Here is the story, the coach for complex system. Third one, let's call him Jess. He actually figured out how to help different companies to overcome their fear of big bang. Actually, within Agile, this is quite non-trivial issue. When you know that for actual release, you need a lot of effort, a lot of alignment, and therefore it costs much. And companies tried to avoid frequent releases. They just doing internal iterations, develop some increments, and put them to their environment, but at the end, they release to actual user only after some long time. And by that, they have the not really actual feedback from their users. So what he said, okay guys, it seems like it's a bit difficult for us, right? And what we can do to overcome our fears? We need to make it something routine, right? Let's create environment in which it could be done really fast. And if we do not need to spend a lot of time on that, we can just practice it. We can do it one time, next time, and by that, it will be for us something like a routine, right? We won't consider this release as a big bang for which we need to make a long preparation. It was a great move. He supported a lot of companies and they succeeded with this approach. They invited him as a consultant and make a different internal analysis and implementation of those systems. Since Jez was believer in empirical approach, he decided that we need to validate our method all the time. He participated in a different surveys and researches regarding high-performing teams, analyzed a lot of data to find some patterns which can help to improve this continuous delivery system. But actually, he figured out one thing which was not related to what he worked on, right? There was question regarding decision making, and they surveyed a lot of companies regarding the way they make their decisions. And he was impressed with the results, right? We actually will think that enterprises, corporations, they have some rigor models for making decisions, validated models related with some data and proven approaches, proven methods. But as we can see from this research, actually 13% of the companies rely on the opinion of the person with the highest salary, right? So we pay some person highest salary and wait decision from them. We don't have system which will validate their decision. We just put it and start to work on it. As some intermediate way, sometimes companies can invite committee to decide what should be potential options. But it's not really better way, right? We just have some opinions. And only 24% of respondents of those companies, they have some economic value optimization modeling. And he decided that this is the issue that we should cope with, right? We need not just put some new processes and help teams to become more excellent, right? But we also need to change environment in which they operate. We need to think how decisions should be made. We need to think how we work with our budget. We need to think how we cope with our risks. And this also should be implemented across all the organizations. So, what actually enterprise is? He asked himself. So, if we want to change the way enterprise work, we need to understand what it is. And he started to consider this as complex, adaptive system, right? Filled with people who share common goal. And of course, we need to take into account that we need to be adaptive. We need to take into account that rely on people, and we need to know what environment enterprises working in. That's how he came up with some models regarding responding to changes in the market. And if you can see on this left graph, so called S-curve, it actually may remind you something from our first story regarding Kent and what he understood when observed big, fast-growing organization. And actually, after these three stories, we may ask what it's about, right? And actually, it's just waves. I tried to illustrate these changes in Agile with well-known model of three waves. First wave, it's something that bring up Agile mindset and proposed us some techniques for team excellence, for team power. How we can decentralize our decisions, how we can empower our teams, and what toolkit, what set of practices they may use to help us succeed with our products. After big companies understood that actually small team from 10 people in 24 hours can make digital revolution, they started to demand implementation of the same practices, toolkits within their bigger environment. And when you are developing and supporting some complex products, you cannot do it with a small team. Actually, you can, but it probably will take infinite time. And therefore, they started to seek the ways to align team of teams. And here different scaled agile frameworks came, and that's why we have the second wave of implementation, which is focused on cross-team elaboration. And actually, after that, they understood that it's not the end game. We cannot be agile only partially. We need to embrace business agility. We need to change the way we planning our budget, we tackling our risks, we're making our decisions, and how we can react to changing market. This is the third wave, which now is going, and this is wave of business agility, right? This work with the management, with shifts in their mindset. And I am really almost at the end of my presentation. Just want to sum up everything that we just discovered together with you. Actually, there was 3 guys. You may think that those guys were Albert Einstein, but actually not. I propose you to try to figure out what is real individuals behind that stories. Maybe you can find some of their works, of their books, and try to understand why they come up with those different ways of working within Agile, how it can help you in your regular work. And actually, this is the way Agile coach changing his role. He needs to go through all 3 waves, right? We cannot just decide that we will go with business agility, right? We cannot just say that we can take this scaled framework and go with that, right? We need to go all 3 waves. Sometimes they're not such a big company and they need only the Agile coach for team excellence. Sometimes they need Agile coach for more wide products or its starting framework. So Agile coach need to go through all these 3 waves, right? And he has some specific areas of toolkits which he applies to help companies succeed. He may go with facilitation, he may go with actual coaching, he should teach teams, companies, and executives, right? And he may mentor across all the organization, starting from the team members and go up to executives, right? So on the first wave, Agile coach was more like coach for a sport team. He support team with their technical excellence. He applied some frameworks like Scrum, Kanban, extreme programming, and by that he created their embracing of agile ways of working. He empowered them with ability to make their decisions, right? And by that, he created great self-organizing team. Then time passed and new frameworks emerged, right? We know scaled agile framework, we know LESS, Nexus, Scrum at Scale, and so on. So these frameworks actually give their focus to cross-team alignment, and they show how we can create specific team of teams, how we can make them to scale their ways of working, how we can help them to receive feedback from end users for the big system, for the complex system, for the big product, how we can still perceive our iterations, small batches of releases, and release the whole big integrated product rather than a small little products which not related to each other and direct us to different goals. And this was the second wave. But it was a time where a lot of small startups started to go to market and just change its forces, right? We actually know how failed big corporations, and because they cannot see emerging small startups that just changing the forces within this market. As an example, we can think of companies like Kodak that thought there won't be any digital revolution within photography. And here we can find out new approaches like lean startup, right? We can find approaches like customer development, and those approaches showed us how we need to make our decision, how we need to make our investments, where we need to spend our monies, and how to create different horizons of investments. Of course, it was just for small companies. And at the beginning, big corporations thought as well that we do not need those approaches, lean startup, and so on. But year after year, those small startups just grows, and as now we can see, some of the biggest companies in the world actually was those startups, right? And they, with their scale, started to, actually they were born in Agile, and that's why they started to create this Agile mindset across all their functions: financial, work with people, operations, and so on. And big companies, which we already defined as the complex adaptive systems, they started to seek how to do the same for them. They started to ask those Agile coaches, executive coaches, Agile consultants, help them with those Agile transformation. In accordance with the latest research, we know that Agile transformations already just spread IT industry and go all around the world with all the different areas. Now we can see that within banking system, with healthcare systems, right? So actually for them, sometimes the first way is not really relevant because they are focused on a different way of working, but nevertheless, they still working with the products. They still working with the market. And therefore, they need to understand how to create those products which will fit the market. And, of course, there are a big impact from digital transformations. As we know, at this moment, most of the companies, they are digital companies. Even if you provide services in different areas, healthcare, banking, or transportation, you try to support that with data. You try to create this specific application which will help you to manage different services, right? And it means that nevertheless, almost any company in the world is already or soon will be digital company. That's why they need to have this business agility, and that's why we need to go through this way when we start our work with Agile coaching. Thank you for your attention. I hope it was fun.
Thank you very much, Anton, for the great speech. We have a number of questions to you, if you don't mind, from our viewers. Quite a lot of them. So let me start from this one. Do you agree that the cultural change comes last? The anchor changes in the culture at the end of the process and change by example and leadership.
Actually, it may be both way, but to be honest, as we know, culture, like it's your strategies during breakfast. So it means that without cultural changes, it won't be a real changes. It will be just cargo cult, it will be mimic, and therefore you may receive like low level or none of those benefits that we can gain with Agile if you will not change your cultural approaches.
I see. Okay, good point. One more question from our viewers about your professional career. So, how can you grow from a Scrum Master to Agile coach?
Actually, there should be a few things that we need to do. First of all, for Scrum Masters, sometimes it's quite limited and they started to work only with one framework, which we can actually derive from their title, Scrum. To go further, you need to discover some additional approaches, frameworks. There are a lot of them, starting from XP and Kanban, and there may be some even not agile approaches, but which form this agile culture, like theory of constraints, right, lean approaches. This is the first move you need to do. Just try to go wider with your toolkit, with your methods, and with your understanding. And the second one, of course, it's practice and challenges. So you need to go with the new challenges. You need to practice a lot. You need to fail fast, recover, and go again.
Okay, thank you very much. Great, actually, recipe for making your mastership. Okay, let's move on. Anton, may I ask you to add a few words on fostering agile way of thinking for so-called old school top management crews?
Yes, okay, I will do that. There are a lot of them, and actually they should be adapted to specific cases, so just don't take this one and try to follow it all the way. But nevertheless, this is a good way to help them embrace these changes, is to show some real data, some real situations. Agile appeared because we saw that something is going wrong. We started to make researches, investigations regarding how people behave, how we are impacting or not impacting economy with our decisions. And this is the way we actually can change mind of those old school management, right? We need to show them how they, for example, have a lot of waste or they just lose their money because of the old ways of working, because you can receive a lot of support from your teams if you will change the way and environment they are working within. And by that, you can receive more.
Okay, got your point. Thank you. So one more question. We have tons of them. So if, by the way, just want to remind that for those who actually asked the best question from Anton's opinion, it would be a prize from us after the conference. So one more question, Anton. May I ask, what are the indicators, soft skills, showing that the person has a high potential to become a good agile coach?
Maybe it's unpopular point of view, but I think it's more related. Actually, there are a lot of difference between all the people, and that's why someone can succeed easily with agile ways of working, and for someone it can be a real battle. Nevertheless, I think that if you see this as your mindset, if you can embrace that, you should go with it. So I will tell you that most any of these soft skills you can gain with the practice, right? So even if you're not very good in speeches, if you're not very good in showing or making agile decisions or teaching your team, mentoring executives, you can gain this knowledge. So you just need to practice, learn, study, lifelong learning, and continuously adapt to what you've learned.
Okay, got your point. Really good point. So practice is number one. Okay, then if you don't mind, one more question about the practicing.
Sure, thanks.
What are the most common challenges that you encounter as an agile coach?
First, of course, is mentioned culture, right? When it's something that all people tries to do because we built in this way. We seek for easy way, right? We see that someone succeeded doing these steps. I will mimic them. I will do the same way, and I will beat this person. And companies try to do the same. Like they don't tune, they don't adapt some methodologies, some frameworks to their specific. They try to just follow the steps and succeed. But as we already know from our first story, sometimes you cannot follow these things and succeed, and in another way you can follow them and fail, right? So you need to start from the culture. And probably what else I may think of, it's resistance from people, from actual workers, because something known for them, something they understand really good because they practiced, as I said and now they need to shift to another type of practices. It's quite difficult for me as well. That's why you need to challenge yourself and try to overcome this issue.
Okay, really, really great. vision and point of view. Thank you very much for this awesome speech and for this great insights and recommendations to our visitors today. Guys, let me please announce a break in our conference. So at the moment we're gonna have, let's name it a lunch break, and we will get back to you 2:20. So please stay with us, more to come, 2 more exciting speeches be there, and we'll see you after the break.